Shalom and welcome to this week's Unashamed. My name is Daniel Clayton. I'm here with my great friend Chris Knight. And we, as you
Woo.
probably know if you have listened any time in the past 2 months, just got back from Revive. And we had a wonderful
Oh
time, did
yeah.
we not, Chris?
It was fantastic. Definitely went by way too quickly. But yeah, it was the best one so far, that I've been to.
Yeah, it was really great.
Absolutely.
And man, late nights, I mean, both of us, we're struggling to keep our eyes open. So we are very thankful to have a very dear brother here with us tonight, helping us get through this. Mr. Hanoch Young, all the way from Israel. Hanoch, how are you doing?
Hey guys, how are you? I'm so sorry you're so tired. Gee, it's barely 7 o'clock in the morning, but I'm feeling for you guys. I feel your pain, and I'm
Thank you
glad
for
I'm able to
understanding.
help out. Oh sure, anytime.
I can
Sending
I can
long
feel
distance
the
love to you guys.
yeah, I can feel the
Yes,
sincerity pouring through the computer right
yes.
now.
Feel the vibes for sure.
Well, Mr. Hanoch is a good friend of Daniel's and of mine. I've only met him very briefly, so Daniel, maybe you're the one better to introduce who he is and what he does.
All right, I would love to, but he would be even better than that. But yes,
That's a good point.
I Hanoch met my dad not too long. Actually, you know what? Hanoch, you were there for the whole thing. Why don't you go for it? Tell us about you and how
Okay.
we kind of got mingled together here.
Okay, I'll tell that story, and then if you want, I'll go into a little bit more of who I am and perhaps why it's unusual for someone like me to be a guest on your show. And anyway, okay, I was. Oh, gee, I guess I really have to tie in that little story. Okay. Oh, there's no shortcuts here. Okay,
That's all right.
I guess. Okay, I guess what's different about me is I'm Jewish. I'm your standard Jewish guy, what people, for lack of a better term, describe as Orthodox, quote unquote. I put it in quotes because I've never really thought of myself as a noun in search of an adjective. Gee, I need, a series of terms to describe who I am. I live in Israel. I'm a tour guide. And for the last 21 and a quarter years, have been obsessed with the idea of reaching out to my brothers and sisters from Ephraim. Now, Ephraim is the catch-all phrase. It was the largest tribe of the northern kingdom of Israel, the dispersed kingdom, the so-called quote-unquote lost tribes. And I spoke at a number of conferences over the years, and it really wasn't until I came to Israel almost 6 years ago that I began the really serious active outreach to go out to Ephraimite communities around the world, to build bridges and to do whatever I can towards the restoration of all of the people of Israel, based on mutual respect, mutual understanding, neither of us trying to change the other, accepting who we are, and understanding that Avinu Shabashamayim, our Father in heaven, will, quote unquote, correct any and all of us in any way that he seems to choose fit.
Man,
Okay, so that's like hopping on one foot. I don't know anyone else who could cover 21 years of their life in that short a time.
it's
But okay.
impressive.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's very
impressive.
depressing. Okay. I was speaking in South Carolina, at a wonderful congregation, Gates to Zion in West Columbia, going to see my long-term friends, Jan and Craig Odell, wonderful people, amazing congregation. And they mentioned to me that a friend of theirs had come by that he wants to meet me. He was traveling through the area. Some guy by the name of Michael Clayton.
Hmm.
Now, I had just seen, before I left Israel, they had shown the movie Michael Clayton with George Clooney.
Oh man.
So I kind of thought that this was like some local South Carolina joke or something. And, I was in the airport, waiting for them. I didn't have access to the internet, so I couldn't look up who Michael Clayton was. But I figured whether he's George Clooney or not, I got to meet this guy. And it's really interesting because there are some times in life that you meet someone and it's kind of like, okay, that was nice. And there are other times that you meet someone and you realize that you guys kind of have known each other for thousands of years, that you really connect, down to the deepest fiber of your being, and you can relate to them. That's really the way things were with me and Mike Clayton. We spoke, well, let's see, he drove me over to the venue that I was presenting at. We spoke for a few minutes afterwards, and subsequently we had a few phone conversations. But what really, really was sort of the pinnacle of things is we did a tour together. Not he and I, but rather he and I leading a group. Mike is the tour leader, me, of course, is the tour guide. And it was an amazing group, and that was the start of our Connect to Israel tours, which are totally unique in that you actually have Judah and Ephraim leading you through the land of Israel, connecting you to the land of Israel, ancient and modern, connecting you to the Jewish people, connecting you to the God of Israel in any way, shape, or form that you form a relationship with our Father in heaven. No one dictates to you what you should believing, what you should be believing. Excuse me. I'm forgetting English here. It's a problem. Everyone on that tour was a Hebraic roots Messianic believer, except for myself. And as Judah and Ephraim draw closer to each other, again, with the idea of mutual respect, it's a tremendous opportunity for us to set forth a model with which the rest of our people can follow in terms of relating for the restoration of all of Israel.
Amen. Very, very beautiful. If I may ask you a question, Hanoch.
Fine.
So you talk about Ephraim, and as you know, there's a big division with us crazy, what people call messy annex, and over
by the way,
what that.
Chris, I'm sorry to interrupt. That's actually a term I personally never ever use.
Yeah.
But you can beat up on yourself all you want, and go ahead. And then afterwards, I'll give you a big hug, and we'll make it all better. So go right ahead. Fire away, man.
Awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Well, I was curious about your term. How do you, when you talk about, Ephraim, because it's really intriguing, it's really interesting, that you recognize, the fact that, of your brothers being in exile, you recognize the prophecies being fulfilled. I've heard you speak, and it's wonderful. I love it. How do you recognize, the people who are what you would consider Ephraim, and then those who are just pro-Israel or supporters of the Jewish people through donations and tours and that sort of thing?
Right.
How do you know it's real and authentic, I guess, is what you're saying? Because a lot of people will just say that we're wannabe Jews or faking it or trying to replace Israel. So what has caused you to actually sincerely believe in this concept, I guess?
That's a great question. And I'm really, really glad that we have 3.5 hours for the show so we can really delve into this, on the depth that it needs to. Okay. So also kind of, the Reader's Digest version of it. Everyone who I know of who, for instance, as you say, that I would consider an Ephraimite, they've all been woken up. It's nothing that I've said to them. They've come to me already with that understanding. I don't believe this is the kind of thing that you can open up a Tanakh, open up a Hebrew Bible, go from prophet to prophet to prophet and say, you see, you must be Ephraim. All these people have been woken up. Hashem, God, has been going around waking people up. Now, for some, it's the realization that, wait a second, the Sabbath was never abolished. Not only was it not abolished, it was never moved to Sunday. How is that even possible? Then all of a sudden, like people hear it. You have to understand, from my perspective, there are people who say to me, Hanoch, why do you think these people are part of the people of Israel? They're Christian Zionists. They love Israel. They love the Jewish people. Yeah, okay. I would be more readily able to accept that if it wasn't for the fact that these people have been leaving Christianity in droves, running away from Christianity. These people have been reaching out to study and understand and live the Torah. These people who want to live their lifestyle emulating the way that they've come to understand that Yeshua lived. Yeshua, as a Torah-observant Jew living in the land of Israel, all of a sudden it's a total different mindset. Mm-hmm. And instead, you mentioned each of the points that you mentioned, Chris, are the kind of things that we could expand and expound upon. But you mentioned the issue of replacement. And, that's something, and I have to quote Batya Wooten, who is such an amazing pioneer in this movement. Batya said, and I really think it's an excellent point, there's a big difference between standing up at a conference and shouting out, "We are Israel," which I have to tell you, to Jewish ears, very, very likely sounds like replacement theology, which we've dealt with now for 2,000 years. You have to understand the Jewish people have dealt with 2,000 years of Christian, quote unquote, love. And y'all have been loving us to death. So literally. So it's like, you back off a little bit, relax. Rather, we are part of Israel.
Yeah.
And, just remember something. My just Sunday night was the 31st, what we call Yartzeit, anniversary of my father's death, my father of blessed memory, 31 years ago. I've been without him now for 31 years. And Dad used to use the cliche all the time. You get to pick your friends, you don't get to pick your family. So even though some of us are not just now I was following a conversation just before you guys pulled me into the conversation here. I was following a conversation on Facebook. Someone was reaching out to their community saying they would like to bring me there. And, someone said, yeah, well, why do we want to listen to this guy, Hanoch? I hear he's not a believer. Da-da-da, ooh. And, the reality is, if you think that you can't deal with Judah until Judah becomes Joseph, that's as abhorrent as those who say, we won't deal with Joseph, Ephraim, until they become Judah. Guys, it's a two-sided coin. It works the same way in both directions.
Wow. Can you say that little part again?
The little part. Which little part, Daniel?
The little part.
Okay. No. Okay. Gotcha. I'm feeling for how tired you guys are. I'm sorry.
Well, I wanted to be reiterated. It was a great point.
No.
And, yeah.
Here's the thing. And I'll give you the scriptural references momentarily because I'm watching the clock here, and I don't want to get cut off as you guys slip off into break and we hear all these exciting commercials. Rather, here's the deal. We, for whatever reason in the divine plan, have morphed from one people into two nations, Judah and Ephraim, and over the last 2,000 years, let's describe it loosely as two different religious groups. And we all seem to be expecting the other to look exactly like we are. And there are people who just won't deal with the rest of the family until they become who they are. People want to look at each of us from each side of the family, and they want it to be like looking in a mirror. They want to see the exact same thing. What they're expecting is Judah, the Jewish people, to become Joseph, to become exactly who they are. Joseph, Ephraim, Israel, Samaria. Those are the terms used in the Tanakh, in the Hebrew Bible. 4 different terms, same group of people. The northern kingdom of Israel, the so-called quote-unquote lost tribes. My contention, by the way, is they were never lost. Rather, they were intentionally put aside for whatever reason in the divine plan. So what I'm saying is, expecting Judah to become Joseph is as equally abhorrent as expecting Joseph to become Judah. We are to be who we are, who Hashem, who God, our Creator, our Father in heaven, has put us on this earth to be.
Amen. I'm thinking about that, and I'm just thinking, two siblings, two brothers, about 2 years apart. One is not going to take a beating from the other, trying to get the other to look like them. You don't try to beat your brother into, having the same face as you. That's what we're talking about here. Trying to change the other person is literally like going to a sibling of yours and trying to change their face. Trying to morph them into what you think they should be. So I love the points you're making. There has to be the acceptance and the respect.
Now, again, that's a mutual respect.
Yes.
I don't change anybody. I'm not interested in changing anybody. I don't want people to convert to Judaism. You only convert to Judaism if you want to lead a full Jewish life. But I'm not in that business. That's not who I'm about. What I'm about is building bridges. You can more readily walk away from someone you just meet. You don't as easily walk away from a relationship. I want to get to know people. I want them to get to know me. There are a lot of videos of me out on YouTube. What I say, what I believe, how I walk this walk is readily apparent to everybody. But there are still people who say, I got to tell you, for all the wonderful congregations, like the Oasis Center in Lancaster, for all the wonderful congregations that have opened their doors to me, there are still people who are saying, if this Jewish guy, I don't care what he has to say, if he doesn't believe exactly what I believe, he can't walk in the door. And, I can't take it personally because these very same people will split their own congregation based on the way that they decide, visited at night while they're sleeping by the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, they now only they know how to pronounce the divine name. They don't know an aleph from a bet in Hebrew, but they're vested with this wisdom to how to pronounce the divine name. And if Daniel Clayton and Chris Knight don't say it the exact same way, they can't be in fellowship with you guys. You guys are out the door.
Yeah.
Those are my personal favorites, are the Hebrew teachers who don't speak Hebrew. I love them.
Oh, I got to tell you, that goes over really big here in Israel too. That really, it's when people say to me, Hanoch, here's a video you got to watch. This guy has incredible insight. And I'm thinking, if the guy could only speak a sentence of Hebrew, boy, that would really be helpful. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Well, there's definitely a lot of maturing and growth.
You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. People are so busy rushing to their windows, looking out to see if the moon is blood red, and then, going and, checking on a slide rule based on what someone said, not Daniel Clayton, Daniel the prophet, and Yecheskel, Ezekiel, he was laying on this side for this many years, and Isaiah was this, and calculate. Do you know what? Why don't you walk the walk instead of like living in dream world somewhere? Do actions. The Torah is an action-oriented guide to life. Even in English, thou shalt not. It doesn't tell you to sit around and contemplate, on your belly button. It tells you to do.
Well, I have another question that goes along with that and with what you had said at first. And you might not be able to get an answer in before we do have to cut, but maybe on the second half as well. And that's, there are certain groups among, our groups and others that would completely discourage what you just said for non-Jewish believers to attempt to begin to keep a type of Torah observance in any way unless they do convert to Judaism. So how do you respond to those types of people who say either stay Christian or convert and become Jewish, but don't try to butcher the Torah, which, I mean, some do, unfortunately, but a lot of us do try to keep it in reverence and respect.
Okay. The people that we're describing are all Hebraic roots Messianic believers. All of them are trying to base their lives upon how they understand Yeshua lived, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So if that's the case, then they obviously, absolutely, need to begin observing the Torah as best they can. Again, what people struggle with is not the observance, but the necessity that they seem to feel to criticize everyone who doesn't have the same understanding and type of observance that they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there are groups as well that will, completely discourage and come against those who do want to, pursue in complete love and unity and reference, trying to keep the word as they think, they should, and try to do it best and not offend our Jewish brothers, unless they convert to Judaism, like Jews for Jesus type organizations, and
Okay. Jews for Jesus is a Christian organization.
Yeah.
And what they want, they are not Torah observant. They're sitting there eating the ham sandwich, and for someone who's trying to model their life upon the life of Yeshua, how they can do that astounds me. He never ate ham. He never had shrimp. He never ate an unclean food. He never didn't observe the Sabbath. So, to me, what they're talking about, and again, the Jews for Jesus example is a perfect example because they want you to be Christian. They want you, they want Jewish people to continue, to continue appearing to be a Jewish person. And the idea that they're telling them not to because they don't want to offend the Jewish people is, well, let's just say it's like shoveling stuff in a cow field. It ain't the case. They're not doing it not to offend the Jewish people. They're doing it because they believe that y'all should be living as Christians. And by the way, when we go on break, when we come back, I need to explain to you why I use the expression y'all. Okay?
Perfect.
I'm looking at the clock here. Am I out of time or not out of time?
Yep, we're heading to break right now. So everyone, please stay tuned for the second half. I don't hear the music yet. But Hanoch, do you have a website people can go and visit or find more information?
Sure. Kol Yehuda, which means a voice from Judah, KOLYEHUDA.com. That's focused towards my guiding. For people who want to know more of what I'm teaching about Ephraim, they can look on YouTube on videos under United to Restore. That's the number 2. On Facebook, our group, United to Restore. Ken Rank and I have started that. It's an amazing group. People actually deal with each other respectfully. It's kind of a shock. And, they can contact me. They can email me at...
All right, well,
perfect. Everyone, please stay for the second half, and we're going to be talking more with Hanoch.
Praise the one who's rescued us, and we're not ashamed. We sing, we proclaim that Yahweh
Shalom, everybody, and welcome back to Unashamed. I'm Chris Knight. I'm here with my good friend Daniel Clayton, as always, and we have a special guest, a Jewish brother of ours, Hanoch Young. And Hanoch, before we were giving out his info, and the commercials cut us off, and he was going to give out his email address. So, Hanoch, what's your email if people want to get in contact with you?
My pleasure. It's Kol Yehuda, KOLYEHUDA .Hanoch, HANOCH @gmail.com.
Perfect. And thank you so much. And please double check that. I know every time I've tried to type Hanoch on my computer, it always autocorrects to Hanukkah for some reason.
Well, mine did that for quite a while, and it was really, personally, it really upset me. But I found once you throw your laptop against the wall once or twice, it stops doing that. Now, please don't try that at home, folks. Please don't try that at home.
So you hinted at something before we went on break. You are how I've described you to some people, Hanoch, is a laid back Orthodox Jew who, in his heart, was born both in Israel and the far south.
Okay. Well, that brings an interesting thing up. I tend to use the expression y'all quite a lot, and people think that's because I spend a lot of time traveling throughout the Southeast. But there's actually a deeper ideological, theological reason behind it.
Oh, I'm so excited.
See, you guys descend from the northern kingdom of Israel. Okay? I, however, come from Judah, the southern kingdom. So with all due respect to everyone out there, all your listeners, I'm the southern boy here, guys. I get to use y'all all I want. I now understand why I was so into Leonard Skinner for all these years. Growing up in New York City, I got to tell you, it was a little unusual. But that's what it's about. So although we will be one united people, one united kingdom, etc., I'm the southern boy. I'm the one sipping sweet tea. This is what I'm about. I do use ma'am every once in a while. And I will actually be caught saying, I beg your pardon. And someone asked me the other day if I was British. And, growing up in the Bronx, it's like, that's not the accent usually that people think. So, yeah. But what's funny is after almost 6 years in Israel, what's really funny is, my level of improvement in Ivrit, in Hebrew at this point, is only gradual. However, even though I work in English, I'm rapidly forgetting English. So soon I'm going to be semi-literate in both languages simultaneously, which is going to be really messy. So I don't know how we're going to be able to do radio shows. So I'm glad we're on now. I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, I think it'll be plenty of fun. But man, you make some good points there. Can't argue with any of that.
Well, it's interesting. What really, if people were to say to me, you're only going to be on the air a few more minutes, like what things can you leave with people? One of the best pieces of advice I can give to Ephraim is keep your sense of humor. What's sad is that many people who come into the Hebraic roots understanding all of a sudden begin living a life of Torah observance, but they become so crazed and they're so enraged. They feel that everyone has lied to them and no, this is the way. It's almost like they want to club their family and friends over the head unless they see it the same way. They need to keep, first of all, an understanding that the people that they're dealing with were exactly where they were, anywhere from a couple of months to a couple of short years. People haven't been in this walk it's only been the last 25 years that people have begun being woken up. By the way, not because we as a generation, are the most excellent generation in the last 3,000 years, guys. I mean, you guys may be, but I'm not. Rather, it's his time frame. It's Hashem's time frame. It's God's time frame.
Absolutely.
Oh, I should say that.
Man.
Okay, I should mention this very briefly. I keep using the term Hashem, which in Hebrew means the name. Even though we speak Hebrew, out of deference, we don't attempt to pronounce the divine name. You know, in the same way that I'll say, like, hey, Daniel, hey, Chris. Avinu Shabashamayim, our Father in heaven, is, you know, we have a very close relationship, but we're not buds in the street. So
Yeah.
we, you know,
Yeah.
it's our choice. Jewish people tend not to pronounce the divine name. But you know what? People run around congregations, Ephraimite congregations, throughout the world, insisting that, like I said before, that they and only they know how to pronounce the divine name. You know what? Relax, guys. Relax. You know, I hear different pronunciations. People say Yahweh, Yahweh. All of a sudden, you know, the 4 Hebrew letters, Yud Hey Vav Hey, all of a sudden becomes 15 syllables.
Yeah.
People make stuff up all the way. And it's like I say to people, what is it you want me to say? You know, is it Yahweh? Is it Yahweh? Is it my way, the highway? What do you want me to say? What is it that I can do or say that will make me all of a sudden acceptable to you? Keeping in mind, of course, with all due respect, I don't need to be acceptable to you. I only need to be acceptable to him. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. I don't have to explain or answer to anyone why I was put on this earth to walk the walk that I am. Now understand, Judah, the Jewish people, have already been brought earlier on into the restoration process. There are now 6,250,000 Jews living in the land of Israel.
That's amazing.
The land has begun the process of restoration. You have to understand something. It's very easy for me to understand biblical prophecy because I'm blessed to live in the land of Israel, and I get to see the fulfillment of that prophecy every single day. When I go with Mike Clayton and we stop at Har Bracha, the Mount of Blessing, and we have some of that amazing wine, we're tasting the fulfillment of prophecy. We're tasting prophecy coming alive. This is what our Father in heaven has promised us. He promised he would restore the land. He promised he would be bringing his people back. He's not done yet. But the Jewish people have been given the bracha, the blessing of being able to have begun the process of restoration in the land of Israel first.
Oh, man.
And, you know, this is what people need to keep in mind. And with all the, you know, it's kind of weird getting up every morning knowing that from the north, just the north of our country, that's a capital O-U-R, all of us, that there are 110,000 missiles pointing towards me right now. That's just from the north. Okay, now these are the sophisticated ones with the GPS that can hit just about any home in Israel. With all the dangers facing people, there are people out there in the Hebraic roots community who actually want to spank us. They want to punish us. You know, there are people, when I tell people that you should be buying Israeli products, and I work with Sabra Joins of Sabra Style, and by the way, that's another website you've got to check out, sabrastyle.com, SABRASTYLE.com. Sabra Style, Sabra Joins from Alabama. Sabra, by the way, a Sabra in Israel is the prickly cactus pear. This, she was given this name. That's the nickname that we use for a native-born Israeli. You should be buying Israeli products. You should be contributing to charitable organizations in Israel that take care of things like education, the welfare of widows, of orphans, of those in society. But rather, people will say, no. We're not giving to the Jews. We're only going to give to, quote unquote, believers. Now understand something. Out of 6,250,000 Jews in Israel, The highest estimate that I've ever heard, and it's from, these so-called anti-missionary organizations, quote unquote, is that there are 20,000 Jewish Messianic believers in Israel. But understand something. They are not two-house Torah observant communities. None of them. Rather,
More of the
they are your
Jews for Jesus
standard,
type.
Jews for Jesus, MJAA, the law was nailed to the tree kind of thing. Forget it. You don't have to be doing that. You guys are just Gentiles. And it's good that you're Gentiles because we need someone to come in and sweep up the floor kind of thing. That's the way they run their organizations.
Yeah. Just keep
These are
sending
the
us
people,
money. And
these are the people you want to be supporting? Seriously? The people that denigrate the Ephraimite movement? That refer to you as the Ephraimite delusion? The Ephraimite error? It's shocking to me. It really is shocking. And I think it's only because people don't understand the dynamics of what's really going on here and who these people are and these organizations. Who they really are.
Yeah. I want to say something real quick about the buying Israeli products. One, you're getting just really cool stuff. I mean, just plain and simple. But on the next level to it, you can go buy something, from the Apple store or whatever that you've been wanting for a really long time, and it pleases you. It makes you happy. It's something you've wanted for a while, and you get it. But it kind of speaks to your brain. But when you have something in your hands from Israel, be it a necklace, some chocolate, let me tell you, chocolate in Israel is the best. Everything from Israel is the best. Something about holding something from Israel speaks to a part of you that you do not understand. And it's the same as hearing about someone talking about Israel like this. It speaks to a part of you that you cannot understand. And it is so important and so beneficial and just so fun to be able to purchase Israeli products and to enjoy them.
man.
Well, the other thing is, I understand that the demographic of much of your listening audience are quote unquote young people. First of all, I personally relate to that because my last name is Young, Young. So I feel like, y'all are related. So it's fine. We're family anyway. I hope you guys are smiling. I hope you're not too tired.
Yes. No, yeah.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
That's the only problem with a radio show.
It's true.
I think you're smiling. I have to assume you're smiling. Everybody that's listening should be saving some money, putting it aside so they can go and experience the land of Israel. Now, ideally,
Absolutely.
they'll be coming on our Connect to Israel because, you can go to program, a lot of people bring groups to Israel and they will stay in areas and in hotels where they only deal with Israeli Arabs. And the only people they interact with are other people who are Hebraic roots Messianic believers. And these people will come back from an experience in Israel and they'll be asked, like, so what is it that the average Jewish person in the street thinks of us and what we believe? And they'll have to look at them and say, I'm sorry, I have no clue. They never met a single traditionally believing Jewish person. They've never interacted in a Jewish community. They've never gone and been able to establish relationships of people that they can then contact once they come back to the United States or wherever they live. And I stress wherever they live because I recently participated. I had the honor of speaking at the first Congress of B'nai Yosef. 12 different nations were represented in Shomron, in Samaria, the biblical heartland. People from throughout Europe, from Sri Lanka. There's even a community of Ephraimites living in Jordan just to be physically close to the state of Israel.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. This is the world around us. These are things that people don't hear about. These are the kind of things that usually aren't discussed at many of the Hebraic roots Messianic believing congregations or even conferences. There is a international movement to restore all of Israel. And it is based upon reconciliation and mutual respect.
Amen. Well, I have a quick question, if I may. You were speaking earlier about how you don't have to be accountable to us. Really, it's to, like you said, the Father. It's to God, and like you said, that's mutual. And I feel like us coming from this side of the walk also have a strong feeling of that we're accountable to the Father, but at the same time, we want to be respectful and honoring and not offend in so many ways as we have. And so what would you recommend? What would your advice be in a balance for someone who is honestly and purely from the heart seeking to honor the Father, seeking to, turn from what they've been taught and begin living that biblical lifestyle? And they're trying to find the balance between, not trying to just copy and mimic Judaism, but at the same time not offending or dishonoring.
Okay. That's a great question. All your questions have been great. Wow, you guys really did your homework. I'm so pleased. Okay. First of all, is to be honest and open. And, often to embark on any kind of serious intellectual inquiry, you really need to be open to understanding. I mean, I've actually had people, when I'm quoting from the Tanakh, when I'm quoting from the Hebrew Bible, and, I'm carrying my copy with me, I actually have people come up and say, I didn't know there was a Jewish translation of the Tanakh of the Hebrew Bible. I didn't know that you guys had your own translation. I mean, what did you really think we've been doing? You have to understand, we've been doing this for thousands of years already. That people are astounded that our Tanakh, even the English Hebrew ones that we have, the English is translated from the Hebrew. It's not English to English. It's not like modernizing the King James translation. So it's a sense of finding out what people do and trying to really understand and believe what it is that you're doing, other than just copying someone that you heard speak at a conference somewhere. To actually say we are part of Israel as opposed to we are Israel. Because that's the kind of we are and you ain't. And what's interesting is I've only heard the terms, not offending the Jewish people. I've only heard that amongst the so-called Jewish Messianic organizations, which is one of their rationales for why you guys should not be observing the Torah. Not that they necessarily do or don't. I'm not getting into that. That's their issue. Again, they don't have to be accountable to me. But rather, it's a sense of understanding what you're doing before you do it, and then walking that walk as best you can. It's like when people say to me, yes, when they wear tzitzit on the belt loops of their Wranglers, and people say to me, well, yeah, this is the B'nai Ephraim, custom. Really? No. Y'all have been doing that for a couple of years, and you're wearing them on your belt loops because you wear Wrangler jeans. No one 2,000 years ago wore Wrangler jeans. Okay? If you're doing it because that's the best way that you can do it and observe the commandment, because you're not wearing a four-cornered garment that you could, and that's what the Torah says, to wear, tzitziot on the corners of your garments. If that's the best way that you can observe it, then that's the best way that you can observe it. But don't make it up and say, well, this is the B'nai Ephraim way of doing it. No, this is the way you do it. That's what people forget. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about him. It's about a relationship with Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Stick to that, as opposed to I traveled to groups across the United States Oh, and by the way, that's changing. I was invited as an aftermath of this Congress of B'nai Yosef. I was invited to address a European conference of Ephraimites.
Oh, wow.
By the way, you have to understand, this is an international phenomenon.
Yeah.
That's supposed to happen at the end of December, over the European New Year's holiday. And then in later January, mid to late January, I'm actually being flown to Sri Lanka to teach for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So the things are bubbling over. But
Wait,
what
you said
people-
this was an international thing. You mean America's not the only one that matters?
Okay.
Whoa.
As
Oh my
Hanoch
goodness.
is sitting here smirking. Now, of course, America matters because we all came from America. And most of your listeners, I'm sure, who are listening in are sitting in America right now, or many are. And because of America's size, there is the Hebraic roots Messianic believing movement has been, came from America largely. So, it's not surprising that there's more going on in the U.S. But understand that there are groups in Australia, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, India. There was someone who was supposed to come to the conference from India who represents an organization called the B'nai Ephraim, which is supposed to have thousands of members. So this is international. This is really, really international. And it's incredibly exciting. Again, because it's on his time frame, not ours. Not ours at all.
Amen.
Man.
Absolutely. That is very exciting.
Yeah, if we're not excited, then something's wrong with us. Absolutely. Well, we're coming up on the end here, and I know you already gave your incredible words of wisdom as far as the final words of a of a radio show. Do you have any other just random words of wisdom, like keep your humor?
Sure. Well, besides keeping your humor, be honest with yourself. Don't make things up. The internet has the world of information. When I have people say to me, for instance, what do Jewish people do on Sukkot? Do y'all go camping like we do? In the era of Google search, how you can wonder how Jewish people observe Sukkot and not know it astounds me. Look it up, guys. Don't write me emails saying, Hanoch, explain every element of the Jewish observance of Shabbat. Go. It's like, no, you do a little homework, you look it up, and if you then have any questions based upon what you're reading and what you've come to understand, then we can talk about it. Study the prophets of Israel. They hold the key, they describe it all. Yecheskel, Ezekiel 37, the 2 sticks. Remember, the 2 sticks are brought together, but we only become one in his hand.
Amen.
Jeremiah 46:28. Hashem, God says, I will correct you in due course. Don't worry about correcting other people. He will do it. Okay? Think of a family unit. How well does it work when siblings begin correcting each other? It doesn't. Let him do the correction. Accept each other as we are. Don't change yourselves. Grow. Learn to love. You get to pick your friends, guys. You don't get to pick your family.
Amen. And the website, real quick before we...
Yes, kolyehuda.com, KOLYEHUDA.com. Email kolyehuda, KOLYEHUDA Hanoch, HANOCH, @gmail.com. Take care, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to next time.
Take care, guys.
Cannot be silent.